your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. For decades, the United States has been the backbone of Western defense, supplying not just weapons, but the very systems, logistics, and financial muscle that kept alliances running smoothly. But now, the gears are shifting. Europe is pushing forward with an eye-watering 800 billion euros defense strategy under its Readiness 2030 plan, while quietly rewriting the rules of who gets to build and profit from that future. At the same time, Canada has secured a surprisingly privileged position inside the EU's safe framework, while the US finds itself on the outside looking in. So, what's really happening under the hood? Let's break it down. Western powertrain cracking. US control begins to slip. For years, America's strength wasn't just its military. It was the entire system built around it. The dollar's dominance, sanctions power, advanced tech, and control over global supply chains gave Washington unmatched leverage over allies and rivals alike. Entire industries could be influenced through financial pressure or restricted access. That influence still exists, but it's no longer untouchable. Recent developments have exposed those cracks. China has shown how critical materials, especially rare earths, can be used as strategic weapons. Meanwhile, tensions around the Strait of Hormuz highlighted how vulnerable global energy flows remain, with major disruptions shaking oil markets and economic stability. The takeaway isn't that US power has collapsed. It's that other nations are learning to challenge it more effectively. This shifting landscape matters, because Europe's defense pivot isn't happening in isolation. It reflects a broader reassessment of supply chains, industrial strength, and long-term reliability. Europe isn't just responding to immediate threats. It's preparing for a future where control over production, logistics, and technology defines real power. In essence, this isn't just about defense spending. It's about whether alliances evolve into tighter cooperation or drift toward parallel, self-reliant systems. But if the old system is starting to crack, the real question is, who's building the next one? Europe is already making its move. 800 billion euros overhaul begins. Europe rebuilds its defense machine. Europe's defense push is no longer theoretical, it's locked in as policy. Under Readiness 2030, the EU aims to unlock up to 800 billion euros through fiscal flexibility, financing tools, and private capital. At the core is SAFE, Security Action for Europe, a 150 billion euro instrument providing loans for major defense investments. But this isn't just about spending, it's about reshaping who builds, supplies, and benefits from that spending. SAFE is designed to boost joint procurement and strengthen Europe's defense industrial base, reducing reliance on external suppliers over time. The roadmap targets at least 40% of procurement to be collaborative by 2027, while increasing the share sourced from European industry by 2030. There's nuance here. The often cited 55% European figure is more of a political direction than a strict rule. In practice, SAFE-backed projects prioritize European content, with limits on third-country participation, making exceptions like Canada especially significant. What's clear is the scale. By late 2025, 19 EU states had shown interest in SAFE funding, with billions already approved in 2026 for countries like Poland and Romania. This isn't a concept anymore, it's a full-speed industrial shift. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Now here's where things get even more interesting, because this massive shift isn't happening without pushback, especially from across the Atlantic. Transatlantic tensions rise, US loses grip on Europe. For years, the US pushed Europe to increase defense spending, but with one clear expectation: spend more while keeping the market open to American firms. That balance is now under pressure. Reports in 2025 showed US officials urging allies to continue buying American systems, warning that new EU procurement rules could sideline US companies. Washington supports a stronger Europe, but not at the cost of reduced access. From a strategic standpoint, the concern is clear. Europe has long been a key export market for U.S. defense giants. With safe and readiness 2030 steering contracts toward European manufacturers, American firms won't disappear, but their dominance becomes less certain. The door remains open, but it's no longer wide open. This shift ties directly to Europe's push for strategic autonomy. European leaders increasingly view dependence on external suppliers as a risk to operational readiness, especially in crises. That's driving investments in local production and coordinated procurement. Timing adds pressure. Recent delays in U.S. weapons deliveries, due to shifting priorities, have reinforced Europe's concerns. The question now isn't just reliability, but resilience. What happens if your key partner is still strong, but stretched? But while the U.S. is trying to hold its position, one country has already found a way to move ahead, quietly securing a front-row seat inside Europe's new system. Canada gets VIP access inside Europe's safe defense club. Canada's role in this story is both significant and often misunderstood. It hasn't merely shown interest in SAFE, it has secured a formal agreement with the EU. As confirmed in February 2026, Canada became the first non-European country granted structured access to the SAFE framework. That's a major shift. Canada isn't just observing, it's inside the system. The benefits are substantial. Canadian firms gain preferential access to SAFE-funded projects, with the ability to contribute up to 80% of procurement value, far above the typical 35% limit for other non-EU countries. On top of that, Canadian companies are treated similarly to European firms when competing for these contracts. Canada also made an initial €10 million contribution, reinforcing its commitment. This positions Canada in a uniquely strong spot. It gains entry into a major EU-backed defense ecosystem, diversifies beyond US reliance, and stands ahead of other non-European competitors. For Europe, it shows flexibility, allowing trusted partners in without weakening its industrial core. The takeaway? NATO remains intact, but within SAFE, access is no longer automatic. Europe is reshaping participation on its own terms. And when you zoom out, this isn't just about Europe or Canada. It's about a much bigger shift in how global defense power is structured. New defense order emerges. Europe builds, US adjusts. What we're witnessing isn't a collapse of alliances. It's a redesign. Europe is shifting from being a buyer within a US-led system to becoming a builder of its own industrial defense engine. Programs like Readiness 2030 and SAFE are not just about capability, they're about independence. Canada's entry proves that Europe is willing to open doors, but only selectively and on its own terms. Meanwhile, the United States remains a critical partner, but no longer the default beneficiary of every defense expansion. So here's the bigger question for you. Do you think Europe's push for defense independence will strengthen or weaken NATO in the long run? Is Canada making a smart, strategic move by diversifying away from heavy US reliance? And could this shift eventually reshape global defense supply chains the same way EVs are reshaping the auto industry? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next breakdown of global shifts and vehicle industry insights. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.